Welcome to Fridays with Steve. I am still not 100% convinced on the cold open. I miss my theme music. So let me know in the comments if people have a preference. I know it's a lot easier on me to just do cold opens with our production platform, but like I said, I kind of miss my ducks. So thanks for joining us. I'm Steve Thompson. I'm the Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing here at Apex. And today we're going to talk about the security threats that kind of keep us up at night, right? We wish that those threats would come wearing, dark hoodies with red exclamation points on the back. So they're easy to see, but these are the kinds of things that keep a lot of us up at night, right? Ransomware, data theft, identity attacks, some of the things that are more and more commonplace all the time. I spoke to a customer yesterday and just heard firsthand how these exploits and incidents, we're not supposed to call them breaches anymore. Breach has a very specific legal meaning, but these security incidents are happening more and more, including this company, this leader I was talking to yesterday, really being faced with constant attacks and investing in security tool sets. So what I want to talk to you today about is some of those things that are out there, but also some of the things that are built into whether it's Business Premium or E5, built into the Microsoft platform and some ways to attack it. I've always been a big believer in kind of the 80-20 rule when it comes to this stuff, right? That perfect is the enemy of the good, right? And there are some things that you can do to really wipe out a lot of these challenges, right? Is it perfect? No, you'll never be perfect. As long as a machine is connected to the internet, as long as we have users, there will always be different vectors for attack. And so, we want to be able to do our work, but we want to do it securely. And, reducing costs or avoiding costs, managing risk, it's all a series of trade-offs, right? And it is also a law of diminishing returns. You can get to 99 and 99.9 and 5 nines and 6 nines, if you think back to your data center days. But each nine ends up being a little bit more expensive. And so what can we do kind of across the entire surface area to be better about this stuff, right? Whether it's identity security or application security, there's just, I won't say easy, right? That's probably not being fair, but there are things that you can do as best practice, as low overhead to the users, or things that, they can accommodate easily without hampering productivity or engaging in a ton of training. To me, one of the great examples is, 10 years ago, talking to people about multi-factor authentication or things like tokens. That was a big investment. It was a big investment in user training, having to carry around that token generator and participating in multi-factor authentication. Now people have to do it for their fantasy football apps on their phones, right? The Yahoo app drives me crazy because I have to 2-factor authenticate to sign into fantasy football the first time every year, and it's while my team is good, but I don't know that it needs to be protected that well. But my point being is that all of our users are experiencing some of the security imperatives in their personal lives now, in their daily lives with their banking apps and well, in my case, fantasy football apps each and every day. And so a lot of these things become a lot more sort of tenable within your environments. And Microsoft is in kind of a unique position. There's sort of a pecking order when I talk to customers. Microsoft sees hundreds of thousands, if not millions of tenants. My team here at Apex sees hundreds of tenants. And both of us come to the customer with an advantage, because as a customer, you're seeing just your instance, right? And so the same way Microsoft touts, their security intelligence because of their large footprint, I do the same with our customers. And I say, hey, my CTO works with, dozens, if not hundreds of customers a year in conversations and actual projects, in, reviewing environments. And so all of that intelligence of Sean and our whole engineering team comes to you each and every time we engage. And so Microsoft thinks about it the same way, and they've really become a leader in this space. I worked at Microsoft when the security memo went out. It wasn't always top of mind when it comes to building this into everything that Microsoft does. But when you think about these different security areas where it's access management or endpoint protection, Microsoft continues to invest, and transparently, they see it as a really important, if not necessary, component to everything they do, so they can sell more software, right? So they can be that leading provider of the productivity stack. To be that leading provider of the productivity stack, you've got to be secure. I know in the early days of 2020, it was very interesting to see how fast Zoom had to evolve from a kind of a more casual internal tool to the whole world's using it, and Zoom bombing is a thing. So Microsoft found that religion about 20 years ago, and now you can see it all coming to fruition. When you look at where everybody's at, they're sort of chasing Microsoft when it comes to small and medium business and protecting endpoints. And it's a big business for them, right? So let's get talking about you. So, ransomware attacks are up 300%. It's becoming more of a business risk each and every day. And yeah, obviously the last one's important to me, right? You guys look to MSPs and solution providers to bring these kinds of solutions to the table. So, the situations that we've all been, going through and changing recently, lead to things, like teams, right? How do we do that collaboration rather than throwing documents around? I mean, when I was first talking to customers about teams, this was top of mind, and it was something that was critical to those adopters. And now we've all probably adopted something very similar. The security aspect here is we're not throwing those files around. We're just collaborating on the same file, hosted somewhere. So, gaining access, right? Again, I come from an era of, if you had remote access, it was VPN based, and it was, it created a full trust pipe. Now we just are really working in an environment that's more based on zero trust, saying, hey, how do we allow people to get the data they need, but to get it safely on mobile devices, on different machines, from lots of different places, right? Most of you are familiar with MFA. I am a big fan of really just getting into conditional access and doing some of the basics. Hey, we don't allow, logins from foreign countries outside of business hours, right? And then you nip all that in the bud, and then when you have the exception, when you have the executive traveling, you create those those specific carve outs, right? Sort of secure by default. And so think about combining conditional access with multi-factor. 99% of identity attacks are thwarted by multi-factor. I got to be honest. I occasionally, especially on my personal email, will get authenticator requests not initiated by me. I have multi-factor turned on even for my personal Microsoft account. And I will get the occasional, authenticator will light up saying, hey, are you trying to sign in? I say no. I flag it as, an attack. And it has greatly reduced over time. But how many of those attacks might have had a chance if not for multi-factor authentication? So I even turn it on in my personal world. Excuse me. I'm battling a bit of a head cold, apparently. All right, so phishing attacks. We're going through our security awareness training right now at work. These are diabolical, and it is crazy how much this continues to grow, and it continues to grow because it continues to work, right? So turning on the aspects of Defender and ATP. Again, just doing some of those basics, sandboxing the links, targeting all of your users for some of this basic protection, doing the education piece is super, super critical. Data loss, data breaches, locking up those documents when they go beyond your walls, securing sensitive data with labeling. I still think of it as information protection, is really critical. And there are some really interesting ways that you can bring this into your environment. I've kind of got a full build slide here I want to get built out. So when you do build it out, it follows the document, right? When you have the labeling and the encryption set up in your environment, it follows that document when it leaves your walls, right? So I think that this is a critical one to turn on. DLP and information protection. Again, the simple ones, the low-hanging fruit. Hey, don't let an email attachment leave that has what looks like credit card numbers in an Excel spreadsheet, right? Or when somebody marks something as confidential, let's encrypt it and restrict it to the authors only. Those things built into Microsoft 365 is super, super critical. We've got to allow access on personal devices, right? If people are going to, work remote, work hybrid, be responsive, I know it's not necessarily a perfect improvement in our world, right? We don't just work 9 to 5 and come home on the bus and not have to think about work till the next day. A lot of us, whether it's at night, whether it's on weekends or on personal devices, I actually appreciate my ability to not have to, use my computer, not to have to be in an office. I appreciate that flexibility. But then you end up with work data on personal devices. And so, with app protection policies in Intune, you can say what you can and can't do with data on these personal devices. Yeah, you can have access to it, but let's not save it. And if you leave the company, I need the ability to wipe it and be able to make sure it doesn't follow you to your next gig, right? So this is another, I keep using the term easy. Sorry about that. This is another easy one to turn on and to put some basics. Hey, you can get your email on a mobile device, but it has to use Outlook Mobile. It has to be the current version. Your phone can't be jailbroken. We're going to encrypt the mailbox for your work mail and not your personal mail. And then we reserve the right to wipe it when you leave the company. And so that's a great one to be able to turn on. And Defender has really become something that is right up there with the rest. I showed that slide, Gartner research, Forrester research. It's it's as good as any of the other pieces out there for endpoint protection. One of the advantages is that built-in sort of cohesion with the rest of the tools, right? I talk to customers all the time, and it's a good debate to have, right? Thinking about vendor diversity, but also thinking about integration and simplicity. They are a trade-off, right? And I know that different customers come to different conclusions, and I fully support that. There is not one answer that sort of fits everybody. But when it comes to Defender, it's really come a long way, and it also. I think a lot of folks think of it as just being, a Windows thing or just being a Microsoft thing. But between Defender and Intune, you can really bring your whole environment, under a secure umbrella. As some of you have rightfully noted, you can't see it because I'm sharing. I'm sharing the window, so the upper left-hand corner is replaced with StreamYard's little share icon. But I think some of you in the past have noticed that I have 3 little dots instead of a square box, right? I use a Mac every day. After 10 years at Microsoft, I flip to the other team and really appreciate and get a kick out of using Macs now. And because of that, it's what I do for work, right? When I travel and when I work here in the home office. And it's great that, Apex is accommodating that way, but then let's put the security tools on it. Let's manage it with Intune. Let's have it, be something that is corporately controlled versus, Steve with a renegade device. And so we've got a number of Macs under management for our own team. And so to see Microsoft embracing that diversity is really cool. Everybody's concerned about ransomware, especially when the town, a little bit down the way gets hit. It's always interesting to me that it usually takes these kinds of high-profile things to get some folks thinking about it. But this is an absolute nightmare, right? These ransomware attacks, especially in the public sector, it really compromise, being able to serve constituents and get business done, right? So it really is reduced when you do these things, with detection and response and, investigations and reports all built within Defender for Business, right? And so whether you're heading off the threats with, email sandboxes and safe links, or responding to them with investigations and mitigation, whether it's yourself or whether it's, in some cases, we help our customers get connected with managed services in this space. Something that's super critical, because that ransomware, those ransomware attacks are, like I said, they're diabolical. That's just kind of a quick run through. I think some of the low-hanging fruit: multi-factor authentication, conditional access, DLP policies that say, don't send email attachments with thousands of credit card numbers, information protection. So, leaders or HR departments can encrypt and restrict documents, even when they're not on the network. Those are some things to think about out of the gate. We'd love to help you with that stuff. So we engage with customers all the time. Many of these projects that I'm sort of touting here, security based. We do a lot of work with identity security. We also bring additional partners to the table when it comes to securing your environment. So we'd love to help in this space. Reach out to your account executive if you're already a customer of Apex. If you're not a customer, reach out to sales, or just reach out to me, sthompson@apexdigital.com. I'd love to work with you, have a conversation, and just, explore if a partnership or working together is something that benefits both of us. Check out our website for resources, recent case studies, and just great examples of all the work we do. So that's it. Just a quick Friday morning, Fridays with Steve, talking a little bit of security. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.